I remember that my 2-3 visits in the Department of Education case, but not in recent times, but in recent past, it could be more than 10 years back, right? Anyway, what I'm doing, you have disabled me, right? So please uh, post disabled participants screen sharing. Please enable me so that I can present my PPT. Preeti, can you hear me?
Yeah, sir. I am just doing it.
Yeah.
Sir, just try. Can you do it now? I have done it.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
So hope you can see my screen.
Yeah, it is visible.
Okay, fine. So the topic that has been given to me is a research paradigm. And for any further queries and questions and inquiry, you can write to me, profjha69@gmail.com, friends. One obvious question, what I'm going to do in coming 1.5 hours. So preferably 1 hour I'll speak and 10 to 15 minutes I would like to have interaction with you. I'll be talking about research and research paradigm in a perceived perspective. And then I'll talk about research and research paradigm in change perspective, or you can call it the post-positivist perspective. So what is the world perspective? What are the things or who are the thinkers or what are the theories that shape our world perspective regarding research and research paradigm? And then definitely I'll be talking about, in general, the social science context and educational context in particular. Another question, why am I here? I'm here because somebody suggested my name, and I had met Professor Biswal almost 12 years back at case, Baroda, or there was a need, so somebody should be there. Friends, there are two reasons. One is, of course, Professor Biswal and I know each other. But most importantly, I have done two important works related to research in education. One is research in education by Best, Khan, and Jha. Earlier, for the first time when I was a student, I read the same book, but that time the author was only John W. Best. And this book is very dear to me because I clear my JRF in education reading this book. And this book was revised by James B. Khan. And luckily, I got the opportunity in India to re-edit, to re-revise the entire book. And so, consequently, this book is available in India, which has been published by Pearson, Research in Education, and authors are Best, Khan, and Jha. There's another book, the first book rather, people say, Qualitative Research for Education. It was initially written by Bogdan. After a decade or two, it was again revised by Bicklin. And later on, the same was revised by myself. I got the opportunity to revise this book. And this is a quality research for education, an introduction to theories and methods. I have a few questions for you because you are young research scholars from different disciplinary background. First question, is research an inquiry? Is research for the sake of knowledge, that is a theory construction? Is research for solving a problem? Is research more than all the above? Please identify yourself with which question you associate yourself the most. As far as my association with among these three questions is concerned, I'm neither with the is research an inquiry, nor with research is for the solving the problem. I haven't seen any research till date in the field of social science which has a really solved social problems. I'm being a student of epistemology because my PhD, I wrote my thesis on theory of knowledge. So being a student of epistemology in education, I associate myself more with research for the sake of knowledge or the theory construction, or more importantly, research for the sake of knowledge. Now, what is my understanding of research? See, I always advise people don't mug up the definition, right? But yeah, as far as my understanding of research is concerned, in last 28 years, from AMED level to PhD coursework, MPhil people, etc., etc., the my understanding goes like this: research is the systematic process of collecting and logically analyzing information to provide sound explanations that can become knowledge.
Recording in progress.
So don't you think that it is a too complicated definition or too broad definition? Yes, I agree with you. So what you can do to understand the definition of this question, what you can do is you can break it into smaller questions. The first question, what is the simplest meaning of research? Research is the systematic process of doing things. Okay. And when you say that the research is a systematic process, then it is a systematic process of what? If I say, no, it's not doing things, something else, then the systematic process of what? Then your usual answer will be, it is the systematic process of collecting and logically analyzing information. So two things. It is a systematic process of collecting the data and analyzing it logically. So first you collect the data, and then you analyze the data, right? And the information that you get from the data. Now, another question. Why do you want to logically analyze that information? Information is information. Then your answer would be to provide explanations. Why do you want to provide explanations in general and sound explanations in particular? So that that piece of information can become knowledge. So if you combine these three questions together, I think one of the simplest definition of research you will get. Okay. So what is a research? Research is the systematic process of collecting and the data and logically analyzing the information that you get out of that data to provide sound explanations that can become knowledge. So for me, friends, you know, one of the fundamental goals of conducting research is, for me, not for you, not for all, for me, to have knowledge so that I can be more insightful, more meaningful. Now, then another question. What is the disciplined nature of research? The disciplined nature of research allows a researcher to have a systematic, testable, and objective nature of research. But again, I have a question. Do you think that the nature of all research is objective only, or something else? And why so much emphasis on objectivity? Everything is done by a subject because a researcher is a subject. Everything is done for the subjects, for the people. Everything is done for a research problem, which is again a subject. Then why objectivity? what wrong it will be if I say that the disciplined nature of research allows the systematic, testable, objective, and the subjective nature of research? This is a question you need to ask yourself, friends. Okay, now the another important point is what are the key elements in the construction and process of research? So once you have identified the area, you have identified the problem, now you have approached your supervisor, what he'll say? Okay, so to do a research, you must be familiar with the methods because you are going to apply methods. Fine. And method will become an important component of methodology. What is a methodology? So method is a technique or procedure of doing research, isn't it? Methodology. So strategy, plan, or design linking the choice of methods to the desired outcomes. Fine. But how do you decide the methodology? What is it that helps you to have methodology A, not methodology B, or to have method A, not method B? Say, oh, it's our theoretical perspective of the research and the research problem undertaken. So theoretical perspectives, what? How do you formulate your theoretical perspectives? You say, oh, my philosophical stance. Informing the methodology and providing the context for its logic and criteria. So theoretical perspective is basically combination of your philosophical stance that will inform you what kind of methodologies you are going to choose and why, and that will provide you the context for its logic and criteria. My another question, friends, what is it that form the basis of theoretical perspective? Because when you say philosophical stance, philosophy is a very big thing, isn't it? Are you talking from the perspective of ontology? Are you talking from the perspective of epistemology? Are you talking from the perspective of metaphysics? Are you talking from the perspective of axiology? So I'll say when I decide my theoretical perspective on the basis of my philosophical stand, it means the epistemological stand, the ontological stand, and the axiological stand, all the three in one. What do you mean by epistemological stand of my theoretical perspective to decide a particular methodology? Very simple. Our theory of knowledge. If I believe that the knowledge is absolute, my methodology will be a different one. If I believe that the knowledge is relative, my theoretical perspective and my methodology will be the different one. Similarly, ontology, what kind of view of reality of your research problem do you have? For example, I want to understand the reality of poverty in this world, or reality of education or literacy in this world, or reality of economic empowerment in this world. So view of reality. And your view of reality will help you to decide your view of knowledge, and consequently, theoretical perspective, methodology, and methods. And more importantly, ethical issues. So our theory of knowledge, view of reality, underpinning our theoretical perspective and methodological and ethical issues. And that's why UGC very recently has said that the two credit research value and ethics will be taught in all universities as an integral part of coursework. Fine. Do you think, friends, everybody is growing every day. I'm also growing. And in last 27 years of my teaching career in the field of teacher education has helped me and shaped me to grow. So earlier, I was more obsessed with method and methodology. theoretical perspective. But when the publisher of this book approached me and he said, "Sir, we want you to edit this book, bringing a different insight into it, which is not there in that book." So I developed a proposal, sent it to the publisher. It was sent to the US publisher, then the subsequent authors all agreed what kind of changes I wanted to bring it, and then I was allowed to re-edit or revise this book. And what was that? My epistemological and ontological stand of research and research methodology. But I haven't stopped there. Still, I feel I may be very sound to understand the epistemological dimension of my research problem, ontological dimension of my research problem, axiological dimension of my research problem. In short, the theoretical perspectival dimension of my research problem, and consequently my method and methodology. But still, there is something which can be considered as one of the key elements in the construction and process of research. What's that? And that is nothing but the language of research. So the rhetoric. Most of our papers are not published in international journals, serious, reputed international journals. They say that language is not appropriate. Unfortunately, till date, we haven't given importance to the language of research dimension of research and research paradigm. I haven't seen any syllabus. If you people know, please share with me. I'll be very happy to see that. There is a serious need that one should talk about, one should become serious about, and very seriously approach the language of research. So for me, today when I talk about what are the key elements in the construction and process of research, for me, they are method and methodology, theoretical perspectives, epistemology, ontology, and axiology of research, and last but not the least, the language of research. Well, you say, why are you talking only about research, research, research? When will you talk about research paradigm? Coming to that question, friends, because our original topic is research paradigm. So before I talk anything, I'll suggest you, many of you might have read this book, but please read it again. A book named The Structure of Scientific Revolution was published in the year 1962. And the author was none other than Thomas Kuhn. Fine? And he is the one who, for the first time, used a term paradigm in his book. And after that, it is not only a jargon, friend, it is almost a fashion, academic fashion, irrespective of the paradigm and the disciplinary orientation. Today, almost all academics use the concept paradigm. Paradigm and paradigm shift. Let's try to understand first the paradigm, and then I'll come back to the concept of research paradigm. Thomas Kuhn in this book argues that scientific advancement is not evolutionary. Like Darwin says that, human beings are evolutionary. The way human beings are today, they are due to evolutions in the history. Kuhn says no. Scientific advancement is not evolutionary. Then what is it? It is a series of peaceful interludes punctuated by intellectual violent revolution. I'm quoting. So scientific advancement is series of peaceful interludes punctuated by intellectually violent revolution. Please underline this term, intellectually violent revolutions. All revolutions are violent. But here in science and scientific advancement, revolutions are intellectually violent. And in those revolutions, what kind of violence? Of course, bloodshed is not there. Intellectual violence. And what happens when there is intellectual violence? In those revolutions, one conceptual world view is replaced by another conceptual worldview. So when you replace one conceptual worldview in perceived perspective by another conceptual worldview, then paradigm shift takes place. So paradigm, in short, you can understand, it is nothing but a kind of one conceptual worldview or world perspective. There's a German word, Weltanschauung. Now, when this change happens, which according to Thomas Kuhn is paradigm shift. So this paradigm shift is what? This paradigm shift is a change from one way of thinking to another. So it is a revolution. It is a transformation. It is a sort of metamorphosis. And friends, you'll have to make yourself believe that it just does not happen, but rather it is driven by agents of change. So who are the intellectual change agents in the process of intellectually violent revolutions? You and I. You are the change agents. I remember in our days, nobody used to talk the importance of epistemological stand in research, in educational research, or ontological stand in educational research. Yes, some people used to, refer axiological dimension of research and educational research. Now, these change agents of change, helped create a paradigm shift, moving scientific theory from the Ptolemaic system, and you know what is Ptolemaic system, the Earth at the center of the universe, to the Copernican system, the sun at the center of the universe, and moving from Newtonian physics to relativity and quantum physics. See the shift. But do you think so easily it has happened? You know the famous debate between Niels Bohr and Einstein, where Einstein realized, oh my God, a new physics is going to take birth. So no more Einstein will be considered the greatest scientist in the world. And when the similar thing was being done by Einstein, the Newtonian mechanics and its paradigm was shattered. So friends, paradigms as a basic belief system is based on ontological, epistemological, and methodological and rhetoric assumptions. So a paradigm may be viewed as set of basic beliefs or metaphysics that deals with ultimates or first principles. And first principles are not challenged, as in mathematics case, axioms are not challenged. And it represents a worldview that defines for its holder the nature of the world, the individual's place in it, and the range of possible relationship to that world and its part. So what, in short, I'm trying to say is this, that the epistemic and ontological beliefs are basic in the sense that they must be accepted. There is no way to establish their ultimate truthfulness. Now, whatever I have said, I'll try to explain it with the help of a pictorial depiction. So, meaning of paradigm is a change from one way of thinking to another way of thinking. Paradigm shift is a kind of revolution, a transformation, is sort of metamorphosis. Metamorphosis means you have everything, but you leave it and you witness something change, as it happened in the life of Buddha or the Gandhi. And as I said, it just does not happen. It is driven by agents of change. And last but not the least, friend, it is a predominant theoretical framework or world perspective. So, what is needed? You are young research scholars, young, enthusiastic, vibrant, prospective research scholars. Change in thinking, revolution, agents, and when all the three converge, what will happen? Paradigm shift will take place. Well, now slightly I'll talk about inquiry paradigm. My understanding of inquiry paradigm is a very, very complex and terse, but still I'll talk about it. Inquiry paradigms define for inquirers what it is they are about as a researcher, what falls within and outside the limits of legitimate inquiry. So the basic beliefs that define inquiry paradigms can be summarized by the responses given by proponents of any given paradigm to three fundamental questions. Just I'll mention three fundamental questions, not its analysis, which are interconnected in such a way that the answer given to any one question, taken in any order, constrains how the others may be answered. For example, what is the form and nature of reality? And therefore, what is there that can be known about it? This is the first question. I repeat, what is the form? Suppose if I say my research problem is a real problem and I want to inquire about it, then the first question you should ask, what is the form and nature of the reality of your research problem? And therefore, what is there that can be known about it? You know, through research, you cannot know everything about it. So this is the first question. Fine. I'm not going to explain it. Second, that is the epistemological questions. What is the nature of the relationship between the knower or would-be knower and what can be known? So when I'm researching, I'm a researcher. Through my research, what will be the relationship between me and the reality of the phenomena about which I am researching, and what is the limit of knowing that phenomena? And the third one, how can the inquirer, it means would-be knower, as a researcher, go about finding out whatever he or she believes can be known? You know, you take three questions and try to answer these questions in any order, in any form. You'll find they will help you to arrive at methodological questions. Fine. So what I'm suggesting you as far as the research paradigm is concerned, friends, always look for alternative inquiry paradigm. Unfortunately, in social science and education, what is happening, people have read about one paradigm of research and then remain stick to this. And the whole lifetime, he or she bush about the, beat that drum only. Oh, research is this, and research is only this. Research can't be anything other than this. Now, what is alternative inquiry paradigm and why one should always look for this? So I have presented a chart. Somebody is writing something on this. Please don't do that. That doesn't sound good. I know your skill is extraordinary. I admire your skill, but please, there are others. Don't do that. If you are connecting with the, any platform with the presenter, you should value the presenter and have some ethics. Please don't do that. So the four paradigm I have taken: positivism, post-positivism, critical theory, and constructivism. Now let's try to see the ontological understanding of that paradigm. And then I'll talk about the epistemological dimension and then the methodological. Let's first see ontology. Now, positivism believes in real reality and also believes that that real reality is apprehendable. One can understand, one can apprehend, one can know that reality. Post-positivist people say they don't believe in naive realism. They believe in critical realism. It means real reality, yes, reality is real, but only imperfectly and probabilistically apprehendable. So you cannot know in certainty. I always ask in the interview people that why in research, particularly in social science research, we use statistics, not mathematics. You'll get answer to this question through this pictorial presentation. The critical theorists say historical realism is the reality. They don't believe in critical realism and naive realism. So virtual reality, shaped by social, political, cultural, economic, ethnic, and gender values, and they are crystallized over time. On the contrary, the constructivist thinkers don't believe either in naive realism or critical realism or historical realism. They say relativism. It means local and specific constructed reality. For example, God is real. Whose God is real? And which God is real? Or you say poverty is real. Whose poverty? A beggar's poverty? A farmer's poverty? A peon's poverty? A clerk's poverty? A teacher's poverty? A professor's poverty? Bureaucrat's poverty? Or others' poverty? Whose poverty? So since positivists believe in naive realism, right, then they believe in dualist, they are a dualist, and they believe in objectivism, and they say objectively whatever we find, they are the true. So epistemology gives you how to know that. But epistemologically, post-positivists don't believe in dualist or objectivist. They say modified dualist or critical tradition or community findings probably true. What community is saying that is true. On the contrary, the critical theorist believes in transactional or subjectivist of value-mediated findings. So subjective reality is also reality. For them, subjective reality is the reality. Similarly, constructivist believes in transactional, so they are subjectivist, and they believe in created findings, constructed findings. So that's why they say knowledge are constructed, not created. Keeping these ontological and epistemological positions, if I ask you in positivist or quantitative research, what will your methodology? So they will believe in experimental research, manipulative research, verifiable research. They would love to construct hypotheses. And what kind of hypothesis? Chiefly quantitative methods. Keeping ontological and epistemological positions of post-positivism in mind, what will be the methodology? Modified experimental, manipulative, critical multiplicism, falsification of hypothesis may include qualitative methods. So post-positivist thinkers are qualitative. I simply ask why, sometimes in the PhD Viva VOC, why you have chosen this method. Which paradigm very clearly defines the methodology that you have chosen. Similarly, critical theory, they say no experimentation, no modified experimentation, no manipulation, dialogue and dialectical will be their methodology. And constructivists say nothing. Hermeneutical and dialectical will be the right. Well, so friends, few observations regarding paradigms. Paradigms as sets of basic beliefs are not open to proof in any conventional sense. There is no way to elevate one over another. You can't say it is a superior, it is inferior. It depends on the logic, on the basis of ultimate and fundamental criteria. So any given paradigm represents simply the most informed and sophisticated view that its proponents have been able to devise. So this debate is a futile debate that qualitative paradigm of research is better than quantitative paradigm of research, or critical paradigm of research is better than constructivist paradigm of research. No. So these are futile one. Therefore, in all cases, they are human constructions, whether it is a positivism, post-positivism, criticality, or constructed reality. That is, they are all inventions of the human mind and hence subject to human error. Don't say the quantitative paradigm of research is the ultimate paradigm of research. So no construction is or can be incontrovertibly right. Advocates of any particular construction must rely on persuasiveness and utility rather than proof in arguing their positions. Well, so what is the nature of paradigm? That is the basic belief of the system. The screen is in front of you. Your ontological stand, your epistemological stand, and your methodological stand. So what constitutes of paradigm of research? So consequently, you can say ontological assumptions plus axiological assumptions, epistemological assumptions plus methodological assumptions. And when you combine all these four assumptions, then the paradigm of research is formed. But unfortunately, what do? You ask simply, somebody might have done some research or dissertation at eminent level or other master level. Did your supervisor ever ask you that while devising, while writing, identifying research areas or research problems, please go through this process? No. Why? Because they are not necessary? Maybe, I don't know. My understanding is this: because majority of us are not familiar with this process. We simply say, "Hey, these are philosophical things. Research doesn't take place like this." So I'll say that, friends, fine, you should familiarize yourself with your ontological assumptions and axiological assumptions, epistemological and methodological assumptions. At the same time, you should be very particular about the language of research, which I've called your rhetoric. That if you are contextualizing a research in the positivist paradigm, it has its own language. But if you are contextualizing your research in post-positivism or critical theory or constructivist theory, then your language of research will be different. So somebody's claim, oh, I can formulate a hypothesis even in philosophical research or the research which doesn't require hypothesis, it's a tall claim. I think they are not well versed with all these assumptions. So if you're a research scholar, friends, some of you might be JRF holder also. Please read as much as you can. And in this 6 months, read as much as you can. Now, one simple question might be occurring in your mind: why I should understand what is ontology of research and epistemology of research? So for those people, my simple answer is, why does one's view of knowledge and social science reality or social reality relate to social and educational research? So one view is that researchers' intentions, goals, and philosophical assumptions are inextricably linked with the research they do. And that's why I would like to quote Griggs, who wants that people who want to conduct clear, precise research and evaluate others' research need to understand the philosophical underpinnings that inform their choice of research questions, choice of their research methodology, choice of research methods, and above all, intentions of the research. Therefore, how one views the constructs of social reality or educational reality and knowledge affects how they will go about uncovering knowledge of relationship among phenomena and social behavior, and how they evaluate their own and others' research. Even I would like to quote Crotty. Crotty, 1998, wrote, and he argued that researchers can choose which stage to begin at. Not necessarily you always start with the ontological or the methodological or method epistemological, no, any stage, but be very clear about all the stages: ontological, epistemological, methodological, and method. Fine. Well, so what is ontology? I think at least more than 10, 15 times I have used this. You must be wondering. Simple definition: what constitutes reality and how can we understand its existence? For example, reality, poverty as a phenomena, what is its reality? And how can we understand the existence of poverty as a reality? So ontology is the study of claims and assumptions that are made about the nature of, suppose if our research is social science research, social reality; educational research, then educational reality; claims about what exists, what it looks like, what units make it up, and how these units interact with each other. Now, similar kind of question. What is epistemology? I have written my PhD thesis on this. What constitutes valid knowledge and how can we obtain it? So, ontologists, on the one hand, study what we mean when we say something exists. And an epistemologist studies what we mean when we say we know something that exists. For example, somebody asks me, what is a set? And do you think a set exists? I say, yeah, I know what is a set. I know it exists. What does it mean when I say I know what is a set? And suppose if I define a set is a collection of well-defined objects, any 7th, 6th standard student will tell you the answer. But what does it mean? So today's epistemologists are more worried. They are not concerned about what is a knowledge, what are sources of knowledge, what are types of knowledge, right? Which knowledge is valid knowledge, or what is difference between valid and invalid knowledge, etc. They are concentrating today through research that when somebody claims that he or she knows it, that I know. So what do you mean when you say you know? For example, somebody asks you, do you know how to develop a proposal? Yeah, I know how to develop a research proposal. What does it mean? I know you have, or you all are capable to answer this question. So basic research paradigm. There are 5 basic research paradigms. First, in which, unfortunately, social science researchers, educational researchers have unflinching faith. If you have belief, I have no problem. But you have faith, I have some problem. Unflinching faith. That's the ultimate. And the best tool to collect the data is questionnaire. Despite knowing it very well, through questionnaire, the way we answer to a particular question is a partially true. So with the help of partial truth, we arrive at ultimate truth. So positivism, post-positivism, criticalism, constructivism. 4 I show you in that chart also. But today there is a oneism that is emerging very fast and people are talking about a lot, and that is pragmatism. Fine. Well, time will not permit because research paradigm needs at least 3 hours. Just to have, small description of what things are there. So I skip this. I'll only suggest to you, friends, that you must understand the ontological and methodological assumptions, ontological and epistemological and methodological assumptions of positivism. I mean, of all. Similarly, ontological, epistemological, methodological positions of post-positivism, criticalism, constructivism, and pragmatism. Now, the question is, what to study, where to study? If I really want to have my kind of understanding, then what to do? So I'll suggest for positivism or positivist research, or people say it quantitative research, but there is a difference between the two. Quantitative research is not positivist research, right? It is a one type. But anyway, so what you should study? I'll advise you, please read Deductive Reasoning of Aristotle, Descartes' Realism, Galileo's Scientific Method, Auguste Comte's positivism, Vienna Circle's logical positivism, Francis Bacon's inductive reasoning, and Karl Popper's. And then, once you have completed this, come to Karl Popper's post-positivism. A good researcher is one who reads a lot. People say researcher is a doer. No, you need to have the right kind of thinking and perspective to conduct the research. Now, similarly, you may ask a question, for post-positivism, what should I do? What should I study? Post-positivism means interpretivism also. I'll suggest you please read something about phenomenology. And for that, at least two authors you should study, Husserl and Schulz. Please read hermeneutics, Wilhelm Dilthey and Gadmer. Please read symbolic interaction, qualitative research. To understand qualitative research or post-positivist research, please read Howard Bloomer. If you want to do ethnographic research study, read Harold Garfinkel, who has talked about ethnomethodology. Similarly, you can think of critical paradigm and critical theorists. There are so many critical theorists because these 6 months have been given to you to study and study and study. And after that 6 months, you will be given to develop your research proposal. And then your research problem or research topic will be registered. So please read Frankfurt School and Critical Theory as advocated by Adorno, Marcuse, Eric Fromm, and etc. And all these ideas emerged in 30s, 40s. Then critical theory, Karl Leppo and Habermas, 1970s. Read Paul Ferrero, not only Pedagogy of the Oppressed, but the Pedagogy of the Hope, critical pedagogy. Structuralism by Michael Foucault. Critical applied linguistics, Alistair Pennicoat. Critical discourse analysis, Fairclough. Queer theory, Sedgwick and Judith Butler. Even I'll suggest you read feministic theory, feminism, by Simone de Beauvoir and Betty Friedan. You should also acquaint yourself with postmodernism, Thomas Kuhn and Jacques Derrida. So friends, I mean, to be a good researcher, it demands lots of reading. And not only reading, but discussion with your supervisor and your colleagues and peer groups, and understanding in right perspective, and more importantly, understanding in your own perspective. So you should familiarize with the concept of transactional and subjectivist theories. Because in the case of critical theory, you'll find there is the distinction between ontology and epistemology completely disappears. So hermeneutical and dialectical theories. So from the practical point of view, this table will help you. So inquiry aim, nature of knowledge, knowledge accumulation, goodness of quality criteria, values, ethics, voice, training, etc., etc. Okay, so let me conclude, and so that we can have 10 minutes, some interaction. So methods, conclusion is this. Yes, methods are very important, methodologies are very important. Methods are drawn from methodological frameworks. Methodological frameworks depend on theoretical approaches. Approaches depend on paradigms in general, right? Paradigm in general consists of ontology, epistemology, and axiology. It also consists of methodology and rhetoric. Presently, I have shown you, there could be many more. At least you should acquaint yourself with 5 paradigms of social science research. And these are positivism, post-positivism, constructivism, criticalism, and pragmatism. We can construct paradigms within a paradigm. Yes, that is also a possibility. As you know, triangulation is emerging as an alternative paradigm of research. But few questions I'm leaving so that you can ponder over it, you can think over it, and try to find out answers to these questions yourself. Can both positivist and post-positivist, or if you are easier to identify yourself as a quantitative and qualitative methods, so can both qualitative and quantitative methods be used appropriately with any research paradigm? Are questions of methods secondary to questions of paradigm? Isn't a paradigm the basic belief system or worldview that guides the investigator or the researcher? Isn't it not only important in choices of method, but also in ontologically and epistemologically fundamental ways? Last but not the least, friends, do you think that it is important to understand the importance of paradigm of research in general and epistemology, ontology, and axiology of social science research in particular? If yes, pursue it for better understanding. If not, forget everything and do your research as you are doing or as you are directed by your research supervisor. Thanks to all. I stop here. Any question and queries quickly or any observations?
So this is your chance to ask Professor Jha, and so make the most of it. And please ask him all doubts that you have, and he's especially here for you to answer your questions.
Namaskar.
Namaskar, Professor Viswal. Namaskar. Good to
Thank
see
you very much for
online.
coming.
Most welcome, sir.
For
Most
joining us.
my
Thank you
pleasure.
very much.
My pleasure.
Sir, will you be kind enough to share the PPT?
You want PPT? Definitely, I'll send it to either to Professor Dr. Saxena or Professor Biswal.
Sir.
But the file is too heavy. I'll reduce it, the size, and I'll send you.
So I hope